NASCAR kicks off its regular season at the biggest event on the planet. Welcome to the greatest spectacle in racing and the Great American Race. It's the Daytona 500 here in Florida at the Daytona International Speedway. Let's take a look at the track then. It's all about getting a good entry into turns 3 and 4 to really build up the speed. This is going to be crucial as the race goes on and in the single lap qualifying format. High line as you swoop in towards the tri-oval section. Keep it high, small turn as you hit the banking across the control line. Now keep your foot pinned down, approaching up already at 195 miles per hour as you approach turn 1. Light turns, bring it down low, really hug the inside low line of the banking. Sometimes as well, you get a little bit of oversteer, just got to correct in terms of drafting as well. You've got to be careful. Is someone above you? Is someone behind you? That's going to give you a bump that couldn't settle the rear of the car, especially drifting down the back stretch in towards turn 3 and 4. Same approach as turns 1 and 2. Take a nice high line in and sweep down low to really get the best of the line. Careful because where the banking hits the pavement road or the flat surface, there's a nasty bump. Get on that, you'll be spun round. There's a pit entry as well to dive in if you need a stop. We're expecting a lot of those on Sunday. Cross the line, and that's a lap of the Daytona International Speedway. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the first practice session for the NASCAR 66th running Daytona 500. Now, the session's underway in around about a minute's time. Fingers crossed the timings will pop in and we'll get ready. Your commentary for this session comes from the Motor Racing Network for NASCAR Radio. Let's head down to the pits.
Of the backup cars, it looks like all of those cars are ready, and it does look like all those that made repairs. But yeah, it's getting ready to get busy down here. As a matter of fact, engines have fired. That's Kyle Larson's car in the background. He's going to roll out. There goes Ryan Blaney going to roll out. We're going to have cars on.
They will be on the racetrack very soon. Jason Toy is also down in the NASCAR Cup Series garage. And Jason, from our vantage point, as Steve was saying, cars beginning to roll.
All right, we'll get with Jason here in just a moment. Yes, you heard the cars fire up. Yes, they are coming out, indeed, of the garage. Let's get you back downstairs. Jason?
Yeah, we talked about a lot of the teams that had to replace their cars completely. We have a lot of them that had to replace parts on the race cars. Riley Hurst, one of them, ran towards the front last night during the duels, or the other night during the duels. He has got damage on all 4 corners of the race car. So really, it kind of looks like a hodgepodge of colors on the race car because he doesn't have full logos on it. At least he has the number on there for him, too. We talked about Brad Keselowski having replacement panels. Austin Dillon with a whole new nose piece. All of this is not logoed up, but they do have it taped in. They do have them attached, too. Also, Stenhouse, Todd Gilliland, Riley Hurst. We talked about A.J. Allmendinger, Harrison Burton. We've also just saw Justin Haley pull out here. He's got a new fender on the right front. Jimmy Johnson sits back here. Matter of fact, just jumped in the race car. He told me that everything that they had to replace, most of it was underneath, and that was the important stuff because that's the aerodynamics. Through the front nose, through underneath in the wheel well, even the rear diffuser had to be replaced on Jimmy Johnson's Toyota. He sits here getting ready to roll out too. So since the garage opened this morning, it has been nonstop work for a lot of these teams out here that had to either A, replace their cars or basically try to build new bodies on the cars they ran with last night.
That's why they bring the best mechanics in stock car racing on the planet down here to the World Center of Racing as well. Track is open for practice. An awful lot of cars have already grabbed gears and pulled on the speedway. Ryan Preece will go by. Ross Chastain goes by. They are running by themselves, not in a draft. However, as we look over in turns 3 and 4, there are 4 Chevrolet Camaros, and they come from the same race team, and that's Hendrick Motorsports.
Led by Alex Bowman. Kyle Larson is right behind him. Then William Byron and Chase Elliott. And here they come, rocketing through the tri-oval, about 190 miles per hour for those 4 Chevrolets. We'll get you back downstairs in the garage. We did break a number of cars last night. They didn't go to backups. We'll tell you who those are when we come back. From Daytona International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Do you have an unused car, truck, motorcycle, boat, or RV taking up space? Put it to good use by donating it to the NASCAR Foundation. Proceeds help fund medical resources for children in our racing community. Your wheels can heal. Call 844-NASCAR-9 and we'll come tow away your vehicle for free. The process is quick and your gift is tax deductible. Call 844-NASCAR-9 to donate your vehicle to the NASCAR Foundation today. Your donation will help our children survive and thrive.
Inspiring story.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. comes back to the Daytona International Speedway. He will win the Pepsi 400.
I'm just a pilot, man. You know, I just want everybody to be happy. I want to do good, and hopefully all of my dad's fans enjoyed this. This is for all them.
Motor Racing Network's NASCAR Live presents podcast Junior's Journey. Jeff Gordon, a colorful career, 50 years of MRN, the 1993 season, the road to royalty, and more. Search for NASCAR Live on your favorite podcast platform.
Welcome back to Daytona. Practice underway. I was wrong, so I'm going to correct myself. They were not running at 190. They came across the line at 187.029 miles an hour. By the way, practice for the Daytona 500 on MRN is presented by E3 Spark Plugs. Powerful and fuel efficient. Find E3 at your nearest auto parts store.
Drafting begins to take place, and it is as expected with the manufacturers working together. 7 cars off in the 31 degrees of banking in a nose-to-tail conga line, and they're all Toyota Camrys.
All right, so we have a group of Fords, we have a group of Chevrolets, we have a group of Toyotas. Alex, they're not going to run that way in the Daytona 500. They will be mixed up. You'll have a Ford, being chased by a Chevrolet, a Toyota being pushed by a Ford. Why is it imperative that they go out and run with only their own manufacturer? Again, the Fords are running together, same as the Chevys, same as the Toyotas.
Because they've had team meetings and have orchestrated how this part of the practice is going to go, and it eliminates not the entirety of it, but it eliminates the majority of the opportunity to wreck a race car. They know what the plan is going to be. Hey, we're going to start off single file. Whoever's out front, you're going to run a couple of laps out front. Everybody understands how their car handles in line. That car will drop to the back and it'll essentially rotate. So that's how it works with these manufacturers during practice here at Daytona.
All right, so we mentioned we got some primary cars, those that escaped without an injury last night or a scratch to a fender. We have those that Steve Post documented that had to roll out a backup car. The transporters carry 2. They bring backup cars down here. They take the wrecked car, send it back to Charlotte, roll out the backup. Those have been documented. A number of other cars involved in those crashes, repairable, and they're still on the property, and they include, but not limited to, Alex, Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, Keselowski got a piece of the action last night as well. Now, these cars obviously had some damage, some significant, some maybe minor cosmetic damage, but damage nevertheless. Jimmy Johnson, we had that report from Jason a moment ago. Bubba Wallace had a little wrinkle on his race car. Josh Berry, Todd Gilliland, Austin Dillon. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. had some damage on the car. Riley Herbst also is one of those drivers. So, yeah, there's a lot of work that's had to take place here earlier today in the garage area, and that work now is going to be translated into speed on the racetrack, hoping that their car is going to be better than what they thought it might be.
One driver that's not on the property that was racing last night is Chris Buescher. He went back home to Charlotte, and he and his wife had a baby boy earlier today.
Yeah, they did. He and his wife, Emma, got the news that she had, Chris got the news that she was in labor. He took off, went back home, and Emma delivered the baby boy. Everybody is healthy, and congratulations to Emma and Chris Buescher, parents again.
Yeah, congratulations. They got a fast car, too. I bet he can't wait. Although, it's got to be tough to leave. I mean, good grief. But at the same time, it's like, okay, the Daytona 500, I got a fast race car. I'd like to go and win that thing, and maybe he will. All right, by the way, before we get you back downstairs and visit with Steve and Jason, let's get you updated on a little bit of a weather situation and why we are running the ARCA Menard Series race tonight not tomorrow. It is indeed tonight. It will follow our live coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Our airtime there is 7 o'clock, and we anticipate being on the air at 10:30 tonight with the ARCA Menard Series. Officials doing what they need to do, Alex Hayden, and that is read the weather the best you can and make decisions based on, your audience and, most importantly, these teams.
That's exactly right. And here at Daytona International Speedway, they have some state-of-the-art weather systems here where they can forecast. And as a matter of fact, that booth is directly on the other side of a pane of glass from us to your right. So we have access with our own eyes to part of what's going on over there. And with the forecast of heavy rain here tomorrow, they decided, the ARCA Menards Series officials, along with the partners, whether it be television and us and radio and also the racetrack itself, said, okay, let's see if we can go ahead and move the ARCA Menard Series race to later tonight to be sure to get that in. And let's face this, call it what it is. The ARCA Menard Series is a lower platform of stock car racing. It's highly competitive. They have 50 cars on property this week. They qualified earlier today. And congratulations, by the way, to Willie Mullins, his first career pole position. But the fact of the matter is these are teams that don't have the budgets that, say, the NASCAR Cup Series cars have, or the Xfinity Series. So to stay in hotel rooms here around the Daytona Beach area for however many nights it's going to take, that is going to be awfully costly. So they made the decision, let's move the ARCA Menard Series race to later tonight after the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, fresh from Florida 250.
Yeah, so stay with us, not only when we're done here, we're going to be moving right into the Truck Series, and then after that, we will have live coverage of the ARCA Menard Series. So we got a busy, long night ahead of us, and we invite you to stay with us. Now, scheduled tomorrow morning is another practice session, Postman. You know that. These teams know that. They also know what the weather forecast looks like.
Yes, indeed. They do know what that is, and so I think there's a sense of urgency on this practice session. If they have one or two or maybe three things they want to do, this is the practice session to get it done. What I found interesting is two different approaches when we talk about backup race cars. Kyle Busch talked earlier today, talking and hanging out with some of us reporters, and he wanted to go out by himself, shake down the car, and then maybe hook up with some of his bow tie, his Chevrolet teammates, and see how that car will handle in a pack. Ryan Blaney, he's in a backup car. They went with a total different approach. They rolled out onto the grid, and they just waited for the entire Ford contingent to come out on the racetrack. The last driver out was Harrison Burton, who's in a backup car. He had some form of an issue with the throttle on that car that made him a little late. Once Harrison Burton rolled onto the racetrack, they just teed up those backup cars like Ryan Blaney had and put them out there in a pack, and they've ran 6 or 8 or 10 laps. So it's been totally different. Blaney has not offered anything about the handling of the race car. That's a good sign. And these teams come down here with these cars so finely tuned that not a shocker that he rolls right out with a fast race car.
He currently is on the track riding in a small draft of some other Ford Mustang dark horses. Right now, it is Toyotas that occupy the first 8 spots on the leaderboard. Denny Hamlin currently the fastest here in practice. Eric Jones is second. Christopher Bell is third. Ty Gibbs goes fourth. John Hunter Nemechek is fifth. Sixth is Tyler Reddick. Jimmy Johnson seventh. Eighth is Bubba Wallace. Ninth and 10th are 2 Fords in Joey Logano and Harrison Burton.
All of the Toyotas at the top of the list, 1 through 8. Fords line up 9 through 20. And then you get into the Chevrolets. Let's bring Jason Toy into the equation. The Chevrolets right now out there drafting together, looking to see where Kyle Busch pops up. And right now, Kyle well down the leaderboard. What are you hearing?
Well, just exactly like what Steve was talking about. Some of these drivers that had to go to backup cars and other ones that had to replace panels or air diffusers underneath have gone out on that first stint, and we started to see all of them go out, shake it down a little bit, Kyle felt something he did not like in the race car, brought it back in. Randall Burnett and the crew put it up on jack stands. They immediately went up underneath it, all four corners of the race car to make the adjustment that he needs to. He went back out, and they were trying to stagger enough to where they were trying to find those Chevrolet drivers that you guys were talking about to try to be able to blend in with them at some point. So he's going to kind of work his way back into it. Not a priority right now to rush things because they still have a little bit of time, but they want to see how the car now feels in that draft as opposed to that single car run that he just did a little while ago. One of the other Chevrolet drivers we touched on, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., one of the few drivers that have yet to pull out of the garage. They have the car backed in. He is strapped in. They got the window net up. They're just kind of waiting for their time here to dwindle down a little bit more for Stenhouse before he goes out and shakes things down. He's got a new nose piece on the front end of his Chevrolet.
The drafting continues on the racetrack. Not as many drafts out there at the moment. Coming by the start-finish line, see some Stewart-Haas Racing Fords. You see a couple of Roush Fenway Keselowski cars in that mix as well. Behind them, a good, I don't know, half straightaway or so. Some of the Team Penske Fords are in there, along with Kyle Larson, who's in that mix as well. So just a practice, and that's the idea, Jeff. Figure out how your car is. You had the qualifying one lap. No practice before that, by the way. No practice before you went racing last night in the Blue-Green Vacation Duels. Now it's the opportunity. Get out here, practice, and move around and learn.
You know, one of the things that we learned learned last night, you even pointed this out, is how far back can you fall off of the draft before you actually lose the draft. Right now, we're watching Chase Briscoe at the tail end of the Fords, and I'm looking back here as another group of Fords come by. Kyle Busch is tagging on to the end of that. It's all Fords and one Chevrolet, but you know, the last thing you want to do here on Sunday is be at the tail end of the pack, lose the draft. We stay green for any length of time at all, you're going to go a lap down.
You absolutely are. And what we saw last night, you can hang back 30 or so car lengths and be okay. But if you break that barrier about 35, 40 and back, you're going to lose that draft, and you're going to lose a ton of space and a ton of time per lap. As we continue to go around the racetrack under practice, we go back to the garage area and Steve Post.
Standing down here in Team Toyota, if you will, they line the cars up on the basis of points, but the way that lays out is we have a couple of Toyotas in a row, including two race-winning Toyotas from last night. Christopher Bell has brought his DeWalt Interstate Batteries car in. Really not a big thrash on this race car. Feeling really good about it. Crew Chief Adam Stevens, and he is such a perfectionist to detail. He literally just went under the back of the car and looked at to make sure that nothing is dragging on all the aerodynamic, the diffuser on the back, and he came out and he radioed to everybody that everything looks really, really good on this race car. Next pit box over is Denny Hamlin. He comes in and, well, no big scramble down here. Very, very routine. One crew member at the back looking at that diffuser just to see where that diffuser is as far as the height goes on the racetrack and where it is. Denny sits aboard the race car. Next pit box down or next garage stall down. Another winner from last night, Tyler Reddick. That car is on jack stands, and they're making a minor adjustment up under the left rear of that car. But just in these three Toyotas, it does not seem like any major issues or concerns. It looks like a whole bunch of fine-tuning going on down here, and two of these cars were race winners last night. If they're fine-tuning race winners, looking pretty good for the Great American Race on Sunday afternoon.
Agree, 100%. 8 cars at the front of the field are all Toyota Camrys. Martin Truex Jr. is not among them. He is 36th quick. He only ran one lap so far in practice, and he did that by himself. He's just come out of the Cup Series garage, and Martin Truex Jr. is back on the Daytona International Speedway, getting another lap as he gets up to speed over there. He is not in a draft, so Truex and his team on their own agenda at the moment. We'll be back with more after this from Daytona International Speedway. This is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
This is Daytona, the heart of racing, the soul of speed, and the only place in Florida to witness the adrenaline-pumping, awe-inspiring spectacle of Supercross. Daytona Supercross, where champions are made, legends are born, and the biggest names battle it out under the lights at the world's center of racing. Don't miss it. The gate drops Saturday, March 2nd. Secure your tickets and trackside access today at DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com.
We are the voice of NASCAR.
The green flag is in the air, and we are underway. The Great American Race.
The Motor Racing Network. NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, and Craftsman Truck Series Racing live on your hometown radio station and MRN or NASCAR.com. Martinsville, Talladega, the Chicago Street Course. We have the side-by-side action and last lap passes for the win.
Photo finishes. Ryan Blaney will win.
The voice of NASCAR, the Motor Racing Network.
32 minutes remain in practice for the NASCAR Cup Series as we get set for Sunday's 66th renewal of the Daytona 500. And practice for the Daytona 500 on MRN is presented by E3 Spark Plugs. Stuck in slow motion? Unleash the NASCAR fire inside your engine with E3 Spark Plugs. Forget pit stops too. E3 gives you maximum fuel efficiency for more miles on the road and less time at the pump. E3 Spark Plugs, power, speed, domination. Get yours today.
Denny Hamlin, the quickest Toyota. Michael McDowell, the quickest Ford. The quickest Chevrolet, that belongs to Chase Elliott. What does it all mean on practice day, Alex Hayden? I think you can sum it up in one word. Well, I was going to say absolutely nothing. How about just nothing?
Yeah.
It means nothing, absolutely nothing. And let's explain why. Again, on Wednesday, we saw the Toyotas qualify no better than 22nd. Doesn't mean anything. Fast forward, Thursday night, last night, Toyotas were strong, solid from start to finish.
Yeah, they were, and those were, again, 21-car races. So we went from Wednesday night qualifying, buy yourself single car, to Thursday night dual races, 21 cars. Practice right now, the biggest draft we've seen has been, 7 cars. Well, Sunday, we're going to put 40 cars, 40 drivers on the racetrack all together. So it's a crescendo. It builds from small, gets much bigger, and much louder for the Daytona 500.
Steve Post last night, Denny Hamlin on lap number 30 was running in position number 18. 15 laps later, lap 45, he was running second. A couple of laps after that, he was leading his duel. He ended up giving up that lead to ultimate winner, his teammate Christopher Bell. Right now, he is leading practice, 3-time winner here at Daytona. I would imagine not only as a team, they feel good, but as an organization, Toyota, they've got to feel very good.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And just hanging down here in the pits, Denny is in the cockpit of the car looking at a whole bunch of data, looking at some throttle tracing to see where he is doing things versus other drivers are doing things, looking at maybe when he taps the brake, where he's on the accelerator, where the steering wheel, where it might be a little twitchy or jumps away from him just a little bit. And they are in fine-tuned mode down here. Denny Hamlin, I think, while we had Tyler Reddick and Christopher Bell win the races, I'm thinking Denny Hamlin probably came out of last night feeling about as good as anybody, because you mentioned it. He went from the back to the front. He mixed it up at the front of the field with Michael McDowell and some other drivers. He really knows what he needs in these race cars. He's a 3-time champion of the Daytona 500, and he knows what he needs. And I would dare say, watching that and even watching this practice, Denny Hamlin knows he has a really, really good race car. Chris Gabehart is crew chief. They're on a private channel down here. Chris is standing about 5 feet from the window. Him and Denny are talking to each other, and Chris is just explaining what they've done to the race car, these minor adjustments that they've done here on this race car. They're going to send them back out on the racetrack. One of the other things that's been interesting about Denny this year, we know that when we come to Daytona and over at Talladega, the sister track, a lot of this is manufacturer based. And while Denny understands the value of manufacturers and working with teammates and working with manufacturers' mates, he has also stressed with this generation of race car, he's going to be a little selfish. He may work with the manufacturers, but if he feels the best interest of him to win the Daytona 500 is not to work with his manufacturers, he is going to go out on his own and do that. When you're a 3-time champion and you understand this type of racing as well as Denny Hamlin does, you can make those bold moves, and that bold move may put him in victory lane for the 4th time here on Sunday afternoon. The big thing is right now they are feeling really, really good about this FedEx Toyota down here in the Denny Hamlin Joe Gibbs Racing pit.
Yeah, I would imagine they are, Steve, for sure. They got a lot of speed, and they showed it last night, winning both duels, one to Christopher Bell, the other one to Tyler Reddick. So last year in the Daytona 500, Alex, there were 6 Toyotas. We keep talking about the fact that you've got to have a bunch of cars that want to work with you. 6 of 40 is not a lot. This year, they add 3 more cars, Toyotas, to that mix. With the transition from Chevrolet to Toyota by Legacy Motor Club.
Yeah, and that's big because they're going to have Jimmy Johnson in the race, so that will be that extra car. Typically, it's just going to be 2 every week with the 2 regular machines with Eric Jones and John Hunter Nemechek. But the strength in numbers that you have out there, the more friendly allies you have out there, the better off you're going to be. We see it year after year, race after race, whether it's here at Daytona or at Talladega. So that can only aid them. Now, the caveat to all of that is unlike some of the other manufacturers or the race teams themselves have some alliances. Think about Roush Fenway Keselowski and Rick Ware Racing have an alliance. The Wood brothers have an alliance with, of course, Team Penske. Well, in the Toyota camp, there are no team alliances. And we learned a lot about this talking with Eric Jones on Wednesday. And he said, while we have great outstanding support from Toyota and all the Toyota resources, we don't have access to any of the information at Joe Gibbs Racing or 2311 Racing. They don't have that team alliance there with them. They just simply have the manufacturer support. So they have basic, fresh, empty notebooks, and that's it at Legacy Motor Club that they're having to build and figure things out. And I loved Eric Jones's comment to us. He said, the best thing we need to do right now is just get on the racetrack. Just go race and start building a notebook.
And right now, Eric Jones is second to Denny Hamlin. John Hunter Nemechek, Jones's teammate, is 5th. And Jimmy Johnson, the 3rd member of the Legacy Motor Club Toyotas, is right now in position number 7. You looked up and saw all of that smoke. That was Joey Logano off 4, making a run down pit road. They practice their pit stops. They come off of turn 4 at 194. They've got to slow down to 55 miles an hour. I think when Joey hit the line, he was doing about $125. Yeah. He was trying to slow that Ford Mustang down. I don't think he made it. He locked up all 4 tires, went blasting down pit road. One of the Ford drivers, 16 of them in all. And how about Josh Berry? He joins the Ford Brigade.
He absolutely does, driving with Stewart Haas Racing. They had a solid run last night. Got spotter Eddie DeHaan on top of the rooftop with Josh Berry. And while they had a good race and put themselves in a lot of situations for Josh to learn, unfortunately, they had a pin in an electrical plug work its way loose and put them behind the wall and back in the Cup Series garage and out of the race. Rodney Childers said they're going to have it ready to go for practice. They're going to have things ready to go for the Daytona 500. And Jason Toy, that's just one of those things you got to deal with.
It definitely is indeed, especially when you don't get a practice session or anything else prior to that event or to qualifying. You see what happens with the race car under pressure, the vibration and everything else. They found that out then in the duels. Much better than finding that out when you roll out for the Daytona 500 on Sunday. But listening to the crew and for Josh Berry, getting him fully up to speed on things. Obviously, him and Rodney Childers working together. They are similar when it comes to thinking, their backgrounds, late model racing and more. That communication's been fun to listen to. But what's been real fun to listen to is him and his communication with his new spotter, Eddie DeHaan. Of course, Eddie's is a veteran in this series. He's won numerous races and championships. He is coaching that young driver, especially on how to get on and off pit road. That's what they're utilizing this practice session for right now. They came out, shook it down, made sure everything was good, and then started working on entry to get onto the pit lane to get the most out of that race car. So that's been really unique. Now let's talk about his teammate and Ryan Preece. Chad Johnston, his crew chief, just checked in with him. They were done. They finished off about 20 minutes in, went out, figured out what they needed to do, and I asked him, I said, Chad, why so early on getting things wrapped up? He said, because of impending weather tomorrow, they want to go ahead, get the car here, get it cooled down, and go ahead and get it through inspection so they don't have to worry about it for tomorrow. So a little bit different thinking from some of the teams down here. Some are satisfied with what they have, others aren't, but that's what it's all about here with this practice session. position as you get ready for the Great American Race.
And they have 23 minutes remaining, Jason Toy. 23 minutes remaining in the Cup Series practice. Let's visit right now with a driver of a Ford Mustang, and that is David Reagan. David is with Steve Post.
David is not with Steve Post. Steve Post is in the Chris Buescher pit, where David has just climbed into the Chris Buescher race car. You guys documented here just a little bit ago that Chris Buescher went home to be with his wife Emma, as they have had their second child, a little baby boy. And you guys announced the good news is the baby boy, mama, everyone is healthy with that. But what they're doing here back at the racetrack is David Reagan, who has qualified a third Roush Fenway Keselowski Ford Mustang Dark Horse, has just shook down his car, and now he has jumped in and going to shake down the car of Chris Buescher. He just left the garage area and is making his way out. They had to make sure the seat and everything was fit, but boy, that is the benefit of having not only a third car, but a driver like David Reagan, who can climb in, has had so much success here at Daytona. He'll be able to give this car a good shakedown and just see what he thinks of the race car. While he is doing that, the boss man, Brad Keselowski, has climbed out of his car, and it looks like they might be wrapped up, buttoned up operations today. He's at the front of the car talking to Matt McCall, and they're just kind of doing a little debrief on that race car, but Brad looks like he might be done as well. So a lot going on in the RFK stables right now. David Reagan out in Chris Buescher's car, and Brad Keselowski just watching the crew work on his Castrol Edge Ford Mustang Dark Horse.
David Reagan now has the car coming up to speed on the Daytona Superstretch, that black and blue Fastenal Ford Mustang Dark Horse. You know, David Reagan has been a longtime owner as well of an old Andy Griffith police car. Well, he's going to run down the backstretch much quicker than that car would any day of the week. From Daytona International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. The Alzheimer's Association provides care, support, and research to help you take control of the situation with your family and manage the disease together. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Top 10 will see Toyotas occupy positions 1 through 8, led by Denny Hamlin. Positions 9 and 10 are Ford Mustang Dark Horses. They're led, Steve Post, by Michael McDowell.
Fastest car down here, and Michael McDowell is out of the race car, and there are some lucky fans in the fan zone getting autographs from Michael McDowell. Michael, you had this practice session. How good is your Mustang Dark Horse?
It's really fast. Yeah, it was good last night. We made slight changes, just a couple of minor changes. See if we can just get it driving a little bit better. But the Love's RV Stops Ford Mustangs in good shape, ready to start on the front row here for Sunday's 500. We've had a lot of speed. The car's got a lot of speed, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think we're gonna have a good shot at it.
Last night I found fascinating. You're up there racing for the lead, racing for the win, racing for the lead, and boy, when things got a little hairy, man, you threw the parachute out. Just describe the mindset that you have to do knowing you have such a good car in a moment like that.
Well, I just wanted to, if we had a shot at winning the race, I wanted to stay in it and try to lead that lane. But once Denny threw that block, we kind of got jammed up and got into that outside row, and I knew at that point we weren't going to win the race, and it wasn't worth just keeping your nose up there to finish 5th or 6th. So at that point I kind of bailed out, and but we were racing hard. We wanted to win last night, and when I kind of knew that wasn't the case, I wanted to make sure we protected it.
Protected it as well. When you have a fast race car like this, Michael McDowell wants to protect it, and mission accomplished in this practice session. He has the car that will start on raw speed on the outside of the front row, and he has protected that race car. Matter of fact, crew members are just buffing on the car, just polishing on it here on the right front fender, just to make sure this Love's travel stop Ford looks good as it runs.
How impressive have you been with Michael McDowell? Let's go back to Wednesday. You and I sat down, talked to him. Wednesday night, he qualifies position number 2, outside front row for the Daytona 500. Last night, he brings that Ford Mustang all the way to the front. He said he wanted to race. He did. And just right as he is about to take the lead, Denny Hamlin throws a massive, aggressive block on McDowell. He bails out. How impressed have you been with Michael? And I would imagine you would agree with me. Fantasy picks, don't overlook them.
No, not at all. I've been extremely impressed, not just with what they've done on the racetrack, but his demeanor off the track. When you come to Daytona and this style of racing, some drivers despise it and are beat when they come into the gates. Some drivers love it. Michael McDowell is outstanding at it. He loves to come here. And when you think back where this team was at this point last year, Michael McDowell came to Media Day for the Daytona 500 with himself and his PR person. And they were the only people on that 34 car that were there the year before. They had to go out, Steve Post, and hire a crew chief, hire a car chief, hire a crew. This team a year ago to where they're at right now is outstanding. And by the way, they won at Indianapolis.
It has been an amazing story. I even want to go back a little further. 3 years ago, Michael was very involved with the handling and the hiring of Blake Harris, the crew chief. 1 year together, they showed really good progress. So much progress that Blake Harris got gobbled up by Hendrick Motorsports. He's Alex Bowman's crew chief. Michael acknowledged that he was very frustrated with the situation as they went back to ground zero. He worked around the garage area and he found a guy by the name of Travis Peterson. They met for lunch a couple of times and David said, "You are my man." They came in, they assembled this team, and they rolled. You mentioned he won Indianapolis. You are being very, very kind with that. They dominated Indianapolis, and this is a team that I'm not sure we had on our bingo cards going to dominate a race like that. They absolutely dominated Indianapolis. The good news is Michael's down here this year with a whole bunch of friends, including returning crew chief Travis Peterson. They have a new alliance with Team Penske. They feel like their cars are better. It's a Tier 1 program now, and it has shown already with speed here at Daytona. I think we'll see Michael McDowell in contention as we always do for the Daytona 500. He'll be good next week at Atlanta. I am curious to see what he does at Las Vegas, what he does at Phoenix, because you give this team the amount of progress they made last year, you give this team another year together, and they might be a little tough to handle a few times throughout this season here. There's a lot of energy and a lot of positive vibes down here in the Front Row Motorsports team. Michael McDowell, the driver, Travis Peterson, the crew chief, Bob Jenkins, the owner. They have done a wonderful job putting this team together.
I can't wait to see what they do here on Sunday, Postman. He may be as happy as any driver on the property. Not everybody is happy, especially after what happened last night. They tore up a lot of race cars. We've documented that for you. One of those cars that got torn up, a Team Penske Ford Mustang driven by Ryan Blaney. And Jason, that's one of the teams that had to go to a backup car.
Yeah, they had to go to the backup car. And first off, before we talk about the backup car and how it felt, how are you feeling? That was a hard hit last night.
Yeah, I'm a little sore today, but all good. So it's just they worked hard last night, this morning to get this car ready, so I'm proud of that effort.
How did it feel out there for you? And you went down, shook it down, and it looks like you're done for the day. What did it feel like?
Yeah, I mean, it was felt just like my car last night. So that's always great. You know, it just shows the prep work that these guys do, and you know the effort they put in to make sure, if worst case scenario, right, you can kind of plug something in and make it very similar. So I thought very similar last night. So no issues there. So we'll just have to find a way to work our way forward come race day.
All right, good luck.
Thanks.
All right, there you go, Ryan Blaney here. It looks like they're done for the day as he has jumped out behind that Menards Mustang Dark Horse here. And tell you what, can't tell the difference between the one they crashed and this one here today. It looks pretty good.
I wouldn't expect anything less from Team Penske. 13 minutes to go in practice here for the NASCAR Cup Series. From Daytona International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Jeff Gordon wins the Daytona 500.
Jeff Gordon's rise to one of NASCAR's all-time greatest drivers was one like no other. Relive Jeff Gordon's journey to the NASCAR Hall of Fame with the exclusive MRN podcast, Jeff Gordon, A Colorful Career. 93 Cup Series wins, 4 Cup Series championships, and 3 Daytona 500 wins, a career rivaled by few others. Check out MRN's Jeff Gordon, A Colorful Career on podcast platforms and MRN.com.
From tickets, parking, and travel, race weekends can be stressful. Let Racing Electronics make communication easy. With a scanner and Easy Talk intercom system rental from Racing Electronics, you can effortlessly talk over the noise of the race. Hear uncensored driver and crew communication from every team in the race, or tune into the race broadcast with your favorite MRN announcers. To learn more, visit RacingElectronics.com today.
Back here at the World Center of Racing, 38 of the 40 cars for the Daytona 500 have been on the racetrack to get some practice. That means 2 drivers have not gone on the racetrack at all so far. They are Anthony Alfredo and Carson Hocevar. Neither one of those drivers have gone out on the racetrack as of yet. So, Jeff, we're winding it down, 11 and a half minutes to go.
And we are getting ready to go racing here right after we're done with practice, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. The 2024 season kickoff for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. They will run for 100 laps here under the lights Friday night. You couldn't ask for anything better. It is a cool, breezy Friday night, cloudy, but I don't think it matters. Nothing would matter. When you put those trucks out here, it is just something that you have to be around, that's for sure.
It's must-see racing here at Daytona. And again, we'll have that race for you live coming up at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Let's go back to the garage area, hear from another driver with Steve Post.
Brad Keselowski has wrapped up the practice session here, headed to the transporter to do a little debriefing. Brad, what'd you learn about your race car here today?
Oh, it's good. It's you know, Postman, we got a car I think can win the Daytona 500. We just, we got to put ourselves in position at the end, and I think we've got the handling and speed to do just that. But I'm really proud of the effort we bring to the plate tracks with RFK. The cars are fast. We're in a good position to be able to win week in and week out, and just want to see it through come Sunday.
Big picture company thing, Chris Buescher, obviously we're happy for him and Emma, but it's so neat to have David Reagan jump in. Just how that all worked. How proud of you as a team owner to see all of that integrated and work together for this practice.
Yeah, the teams have done a great job working together, and we're just in a really good place with our people and everything you need to be successful in this sport, and it's an exciting time.
Exciting time, that's for sure. That's Brad Keselowski, and there is a spring in his step as well, guys. He is really feeling good about it. Chris Buescher got David Reagan this weekend. Really been fun to watch RFK racing over the time since Brad took it over last year and where this team has gone as well. Man, they have made a lot of progress, and they're showing up every weekend with fast race cars.
My pick to win the Daytona 500. Postman just interviewed him, Brad Keselowski. What's Alex Hayden thinking? We'll find out here in just a moment. This practice now winding down, 9 minutes, 30 seconds. That's all that remains. From Daytona International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Hi, I'm Kyle Penn. You may know that Victory Junction provides fun, adaptive, and life-changing experiences for kids with all levels of abilities, serious illnesses, and chronic medical conditions. But did you know that camp is free for the children and families we serve? Your support helps every camper build a foundation to live their best life. Make your gift today at victoryjunction.org/donate and feel your heart race.
In the beginning was Daytona.
Here we go.
The birthplace of speed, the launch pad of legends, the great American race. Every driver looking to be remembered.
Keep digging, stay in the gas.
Every fan looking for something they'll never forget.
Let's go!
Daytona 500 at Daytona International Speedway, February 18th, 2024. Secure your seats now at Daytona500.com.
8 minutes remain now in this practice session. Live Daytona International Speedway NASCAR Cup Series cars on the track. 8 minutes remain, that's all. We will give you our picks for the 500, our favorites maybe, and then a sleeper pick. We'll get with Alex here in just a moment. Right now, let's hear from a driver that's probably on a lot of people's list, and that is Kyle Larson.
Yeah, he sits down here, and a lot of thrashing going on with his teammate William Byron. All right, you've had a busy week down here in Florida. Ran the sprint car over in Tampa area, and of course now you just wrapped that practice. How'd the car feel?
I don't know. You get more of a read last night, so the pack's just never as big, and it just didn't seem like, aside from me, the guys in the back, their car just couldn't keep up, and we get lost, and our pack's just shrinking. So yeah, I didn't really learn much there, but either way, it was good to run through some like green flag style pit sequence stuff and all that, but other than that, I didn't learn much.
A lot of thrashing going on with your teammate William Byron. He went to a backup car. What are you able to relay to him to kind of help him out and get this car set up?
I mean, I don't know anything about a car, so I'm not dealing with that. But I run a different neck restraint. I run a hybrid, and he's typically ran a Hans, and he's switched to a hybrid. So I was just asking him how he felt about it, and because it sounded like he was restricted with his head movement yesterday, so they worked on it. So I was just asking how that felt. So yeah, that was it.
A little coaching, right?
Yeah, I was just telling him earlier today. I just kind of told him how I have my system set up, and it sounds like they went more like what we had, and it was better.
All right, there you have it, Kyle Larson.
Yeah, Kyle Larson, he very optimistic. He's never won here at Daytona in the NASCAR Cup Series machine. So we're getting down to it. 6 minutes to go in practice tonight. Could be the final practice with the forecast of rain tomorrow. We are scheduled to have a final practice tomorrow for the NASCAR Cup Series at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. We'll wait and see if it actually happens. Therefore, Steve Post, let's find out what you think. You're right there in the middle of things in the garage. You yourself are a mover and a shaker along with everybody that has a team uniform. What do you think? Who do you pick to win the Daytona 500, and who is somebody you think could surprise?
Well, as far as the moving and shaking goes, at my size, there's a whole lot of shaking and a little bit of moving going on. But, yeah, down here in the garage area, I had a pick coming in, okay, and he wadded up a race car last night. But we just heard from him. Jason Toy just talked to Ryan Blaney, and he said this is as good as the car he had. So Ryan Blaney is my pick. He has done everything here at Daytona but win. He wins the Great American Race and continues with the exclamation point on exclamation point. He won the championship. He got married during the offseason. It's just good for Ryan Blaney, and that'll continue with him adding the Harley J. Earls Trophy. All right, as far as drivers that might surprise, I'm just looking at a Celsius-colored Chevrolet, and I think A.J. Allmendinger. He is good at this style of racing as well, and it's been a lot of a weird offseason for A.J. as he transitions to the NASCAR Xfinity Series. He won at the Roval last year. I just think that A.J. Allmendinger just makes a statement. They all talk about trophy hunting over at Kaulig Racing, and I think A.J. Allmendinger puts himself in the hunt, and that's my dark horse surprise pick, if you will. Allmendinger is that pick for me.
All right, Posty and Alex, speaking of movers and shakers, Jason Toy, you're up.
I don't know how to go with that one. All right, let's go. I think, honestly, what impressed me last night during the dual races was seeing Denny Hamlin go to the front the way he did, and he could do it at ease whenever he wanted to. So I like Denny Hamlin the way he's running. I think my dark horse in this one could be the 43 car. I'm telling you, I think Eric Jones showed a lot of things yesterday. They worked very well together. Jones was up there working also with his teammate Jimmy Johnson and his owner. I think that 43 car could be a shocker and a surprise tomorrow.
I don't know if that's much of a shocker or anybody. That's a really good race car there. So good picks down there from both Steve Post and Jason Toy in the garage area. Jeff Striegel, you've had a chance to see him on the track every time they've been on the track this week. What do you think? Who's going to win, and who's somebody to pay attention to that could surprise?
Well, I said Brad Keselowski as my favorite going into the Daytona 500, so I'm leaving it right there. Brad to win. And then Jason, as you probably could tell by my expression, stole my thunder. I, too, Jason Toy, will take the driver of the number 43 Toyota Eric Jones is my sleeper pick. That leads us to and leaves us with you, my friend. What do you think? Who's going to win?
Well, I think the driver that's going to win is having to overcome adversity. And how many times during Speed Weeks by Advent Health have we seen a team win the Daytona 500 after facing some adversity? I'm with my man, the postman. I think Ryan Blaney, the Cup Series champion, is a leader now. He's a voice in the garage. He's mad about the way things ended last night. He's mad about the way things have ended here at Daytona the last couple of times he's raced here. I think Ryan Blaney, especially after what he said just a moment ago, that his backup car feels just like the primary car. I like Ryan Blaney to win the 66 Daytona 500. And my sleeper is also in a Ford Mustang Dark Horse. And this is a driver that's been great here this week that a lot of people haven't paid a lot of attention to. I think Harrison Burton could give the Wood brothers win number 100 here in Daytona. I like Harrison Burton as a sleeper pick.
All right, nobody picked last year's winner of the Daytona 500, and that's going to make him mad and make him want to drive to the front. Let's get his thoughts right now.
That is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I got to say, Alex, when you picked the Wood Brothers car, I got a little chills on my spine. I mean, that would be quite the moment here if the Wood Brothers were to do it. But Ricky Stenhouse down here talking to Ernie Culp and Mike Kelly and the gang down here. Ricky, how is your race car after this practice session?
It was good. The guys did a really good job. Obviously, got a new nose on it here, so they're going to wrap it. A little damage from last night, but all in all, our Boost Kroger Plus Camaro was really good last night. Obviously, leading laps was strong. I felt good out front. Felt good, pushing and leading lines. And then unfortunate, just we all got stacked up there. I didn't get stopped, and the 3 didn't get stopped, and felt bad for the 31 there. But all in all, our Cottonelle Camaro's really strong. I feel like we got a piece that we can go get the job done in 500 miles.
So you have your other car from last year's over in the museum. You just want to swap them out. Just take the other one home and put this one in its place, right?
That would be ideal. So that's always the plan when you come to Daytona is to get your car in the museum. And obviously after experiencing that last year, it was really, really special, and we'd like to do that again.
Boy, I'll tell you what, not happy with one Daytona 500 championship. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. would love to grab a second one here back-to-back, and boy, that's not a bad pick either, man. I'll tell you what, the way he took the car, he made one move, the guys, last night, and I don't know if you caught this. I think it might have been over in front of Mike Bagley, where he just swooped to the outside and passed a bunch of them all by himself, and it was like, Lord have mercy. That car is very fast, and Ricky certainly knows what to do with a fast race car.
He does, and he's a Daytona 500 champion, something that will stay with him for the rest of his life and then on past that as well. We're down to the final 15 ticks of the clock in practice for the 66 Daytona 500. Top 10 as they run right now.
Denny Hamlin, Eric Jones, Christopher Bell, Ty Gibbs, John Hunter Nemechek. All in Toyotas. Tyler Reddick, Jimmy Johnson, Bubba Wallace, Michael McDowell, and Austin Cindric. I'm going to stop right there. The gentleman in 7th right now, 7th quickest, raced his way in. Last night is Jimmy Johnson. Let's hear from him now.
Yeah, he was 7th quick in practice. Very happy with the race car. They had to make some changes to the race car back overnight and early this morning for Jimmy Johnson. And Jimmy, the changes you guys made, you had to add some things to it, take some things away from last night. Obviously pretty quick, top 10. How'd it feel?
Yeah, the Carvana Toyota is quick. I'm really happy. To my surprise this morning, I found out what they had to take off of the car last night as I bounced across the apron and tore up the bottom side of the car. And the bottom of the car is where all the downforce comes from. So the guys had a very long night last night, a long day today. They came in early to get the car put back together so it could meet the requirements in tech. And we just wanted to draft to make sure with basically a new car that it was handling correctly, and it drives just like it did last night. So hats off to this group. Excited to go racing. I really felt like I had a car that could win the Daytona 500 last night, and now I have that feeling again.
Got to take Creed to victory lane, right?
What was that?
Got to take Creed to victory lane, right?
Creed in this amazing Petty 75th, Richard Petty winning 1964 car. So 64 and 24. I mean, we can play on some numbers here and work up a good reason why we should be in victory lane.
All right, let's go have fun.
Thank you.
All right, Jimmy Johnson, loving this race car. It's a beautiful Petty blue car. He's got Creed on the side of it, too, along with Carvana. Tell you what, this is the happiest I've seen Jimmy Johnson in a long time, and he should be. He's got a very competitive race car that could put him in victory lane in Daytona.
Great to have Jimmy Johnson back here at the World Center of Racing. From Daytona International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Give us a follow. The Motor Racing Network is on Facebook, X, YouTube, and Instagram. We've got links to all our podcasts, MRN Radio race broadcasts, and NASCAR news and information. Video podcasts on MRN's YouTube and Facebook. On X, use the hashtag AskMRN to connect with us and our award-winning race announcers. Give us a like, post a comment, share a podcast. Just search for MRN Radio, the Motor Racing Network, on all your favorite social media outlets.
The year was 1993. The NASCAR Cup Series season kicked off with the Dale and Dale Show at the Daytona 500.
Dale Jarrett's got the lead. He goes to the inside. Earnhardt's not going to get him. Dale Jarrett is going to win the Daytona 500 by STP. Earnhardt second.
The 1993 NASCAR Cup Series season. All the highs and lows. Relive them all on MRN's exclusive podcast, The 1993 Season. Available on podcast platforms and MRN.com.
Wonderful then to have the first session available to be able to bring it to you for a whole new year. And thanks to everybody for bringing us the NASCAR radio for the Motor Racing Network as well. Had to literally run down to get that finished. It never tells you how long the session's going to be, only going up, not counting down. That's a bit of a problem. But anyway, the first session is over. We'll be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Eastern as well. That's 3:30 p.m. GMT for the second practice session. And on Sunday, we're live for all of the coverage for the Daytona 500. Thanks for your company tonight, though. Denny Hamlin, who takes number one here in practice, a 45.575 is top. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.